interesting bit in Kenneth Clarke's Civilization, Lord Clarke Civilization, where he talks about some manners and etiquette from before the war, World War II, and after, because he was recording Civilization in the 60s, the very late 60s, I believe. And so, and as an old man, he was sort of a fairly old man in the late 60s. So he remembered what he was a young man between the wars. He said how people used to, even then, help lady into her chair and that sort of thing, maybe pick up her handkerchief or something if she dropped it, as a matter of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that by the 60s, you just don't do that anymore. Women don't particularly expect it. Most men wouldn't think to even. And obviously we're talking there like sort of Victorian things, aren't they? Like nowadays, it is much more difficult nowadays, I think, because the idea of tucking a woman in at table at the chair, holding her chair, and when she sits down, as she sits down, scoop the chair in for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of so formal that it would seem a little bit odd now, I think.
I mean,
and some women would even be, wait, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? What's going on now? Because it's just not done anymore.
I think I've done it once or twice when at a particularly nice restaurant, and it's funny how what would ordinarily be questioned is immediately implicitly understood, in that I didn't need to explain myself. It was almost like, although that wasn't the standard anymore, when the setting is right and it felt appropriate, it wasn't questioned. In fact, it was kind of appreciated, if anything.
Yeah. So if you've gone to an effort and you're all dressed up for a really swanky restaurant for an anniversary or something like that, it would make a lot more sense than just doing it every single day at your dinner table.
And I think that's
doing
where...
it at the breakfast table every morning. Would you?
No, certainly not
kitchen?
there.
No,
yeah.
Right, I mean, right. So, but the idea of picking up a lady's handkerchief for her, I mean, people don't really have handkerchiefs much anymore anyway, but there's endless examples of something along those lines.
I'd do that.
Some women would be like, I could do it myself, thinking I'm not pathetic. Like, I'm capable of doing it myself. Like I say, it's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Like I say, only once ever have I held a door open for someone, and she was a classic blue-haired, like dungaree-wearing type, feminist type, and she tutted and was like, I can hold the door open for myself or something. I don't think I said anything. I just sort of had a look of distaste on my face and just let the whole situation pass. But again, I wasn't holding it for her because she was a woman. I was holding it because just the timing of it would have been, whoever it was, I would have held it for her. But yeah, she felt the need to say something rude. Well,
I'm hoping that's going to go away, because
be nice,
it's kind of become a general standard now that no matter who it is, you hold the door for them. And that's kind of the rule. So people are a bit more accepting of it. They don't think you're doing it just because they're a lady. I mean, if it's an old person, child, and another bloke, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect my willingness to hold the door open for them at all.
Like I say, we've been all around the world, and some places that's not a thing. You absolutely do not hold doors for people, sort of ever. Because there's things being deliberately rude, and then there's just not realising. They're two different things, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I'll let you carry on, sorry.
So I'm going to fire through a few of these, if that's all right.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Give up your seat to women and the elderly. This is still in practice today in Britain, and it's good to see. I've given up my seat to quite a few elderly people especially, and sometimes I just allow the women to stand. I'm sorry, I'm terrible, but it's the 21st century, and if you can earn the same money as me, you can stand up. I've been working as well now, but if sometimes
they're heavily pregnant or visibly elderly, I'd certainly offer them my seat. Otherwise, probably not. Also,
I think if they're quite young as well, if they're sort of kids or teenagers, I'd be willing to let them have the seat, just because you don't want them out in the hallway or something in the train. It seems a bit, I don't know. I almost feel like an obligation to, what's the word, uphold what a parent who isn't there can't do of treating them well. Do you know what I mean? It might just be that I'm from a sort of rural area where you kind of you keep an eye on your community, but quite often I feel like I don't want to just leave particularly younger people to their own devices. I kind of want to show them a bit of kindness to help them on. You know what I mean? Show them the correct thing to do.
A small child, not teenagers.
Yeah, maybe less so them, because they'd probably be annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it depends on the circumstances as well. If they seem like they're not scummy, I'll be more willing to do it.
When there's an old person that's really, really elderly, they're stooped over with age, got a walking stick.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt
about it. Or
about
a woman who's
it.
heavily pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
In a second, I'll jump up. Short of that, I pretty much don't. If it's just a woman, like in her 30s, I probably wouldn't offer her my seat. Well, I wouldn't.
I have before.
But there you go. But if they're heavily pregnant or sort of visibly pregnant at all, yeah, in a split second.
I think part of the reason I'm willing to offer my seat is because I don't necessarily mind. I'm thinking particularly on the train, just sitting on my luggage in the lobby, looking out the window. It's not that bad. And in fact, if you're on quite a packed train, a lot of the time, if you have to share a seat with someone, because I'm quite big anyway, I'm cramped in and uncomfortable either way. So I'd rather someone be comfortable in the seat I'm occupying than me sit there and be a bit cramped, when I could sit in the hallway and I might not have a proper seat, but I can at least stretch my legs out and not get horrible cramped legs. So there's a bit of self-interest, I suppose, in offering it up.
On the tube, there's special seats that are designated with a little sign saying, please offer this seat to anyone elderly or pregnant. A couple of times I have seen it where someone's offered that seat. They're sitting in the seat and an oldish person gets on. They offer the seat and the person's offended. I'm not, like, they're obviously saying, I'm not that old. I don't need a seat. Like, I'm not that old yet. They get a bit offended by it. I've seen that I've seen that a number of times actually, where they're like, no, I'm fine. So
the way that I would couch it is, I just need to stretch my legs. Would you like to have my seat? I don't think I'm going to use it anymore. You didn't say, would you like my seat? Just as a matter of course. You kind of make up an excuse.
It is like saying to the whole carriage, you're old. There's an old person over here. You're old. Do you want this seat, old person? That is a little bit rude, isn't it? Especially if they're only they're grey-haired and they're obviously in their 50s or 60s or something, but they're not disabled. Anyway, sorry, I think you've got loads of examples.
I do, yes. So this one's one that is very much true to this day. And never point to a person or refer to someone as he or she if they are in your company. Refer to them by their name. And that's, pretty obvious stuff. I feel like that. I've included that in there just to show that there are some rules that are just as stringent now as they were in the past. And when walking alongside a lady or a gentleman older than yourself, ensure that you walk on the inner side of the pavement. And this is one that I think still exists, in that if you're a young man, someone sort of my age, where everyone's either older, a lady, or something like that, there's a majority of society that is a qualifier. You walk on the sort of outside of the road, the more dangerous position, because you're more likely to survive if, you get hit by a car, or in the past, a horse and carriage. And I think that that's just a sort of protective thing, isn't it? Like if you have children, you make them walk on the inside of the road. Same with women and the elderly, in that you're keeping them in the safer position, which is polite. And there's
on the inner side of the pavement, closest to the buildings, furthest away from the curb.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a very tangible and real form of politeness, because it has real world effects. It's not just being superficially polite. There's a real reason for that one. So if navigating dangerous or slippery terrain, always offer one's arm to ladies and the elderly, but not gentlemen, apparently. That's, of course, something that should be intuitive to most people, and you shouldn't really need a book to tell you that, or me.
Just very quickly to sound that one. These days it's a little bit different, because that would be odd to be someone you didn't know. If it was a lady that's in your company, someone you already know, okay, all right, fine. But in Victorian days, a gentleman would be expected to do that for someone he didn't know. Whereas now that would be weird. Maybe for an old person, maybe. But if it's just, there's a bit of a slippery surface and you just start offering your arm to every woman, that is weird. They would feel uncomfortable. They would probably feel a bit embarrassed that you were doing that. So I wouldn't do that.
I think there would be a situation I can imagine where it could be permissible to do something like that. Like there's a massive patch of ice on the pavement or something that's quite dangerous, and you've kind of already acknowledged, you've hesitated, there's someone else trying to cross it as well. You kind of acknowledge that, yeah, it's dangerous. And then maybe you say, oh, do you want a hand across once you're over or something like that? Then that might be a bit acceptable. But it's still strange, as you say, and I do agree. So always address with the expectation that you will encounter an acquaintance. I do this religiously in that I don't leave the house unless I'm happy with someone I know seeing how I'm dressed. I very much deplore the notion of going to the corner shop to get, bread and milk in your dressing gown. Have some standards.
And slippers, wearing your slippers to the corner shop.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah, I was raised so you never ever do that. Never even pop to the corner shop in your sort of...
Even answering the door to the postman in my own home is bad enough being in my pyjamas. If I'm not in a full suit, I'm not going to answer. I get no post. No, that's not true. But it's still embarrassing. It's like, oh, you're not dressed. Oh, you got a life. You're just sitting at home in your pyjamas, are you? It's
funny to what degree you take it, because I would consider, unless I'm actually going jogging or going to play five-a-side football or something, I wouldn't wear like a tracksuit.
Very much agree, yeah.
I would find that a bit, it's not embarrassing, but it's just like, what's the problem? Yeah. What's your problem? Why are you so... I don't know, but loads of people, in fact, most people probably will consider that a bit straight-laced.
I hope you enjoyed that segment from Contemplations, my series. And if you want to watch the full conversation, which that was taken from, all you need to do is sign up to our website for £5 a month, and you can watch all of the content we have there. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.